For a game that's going to basically be a footnote, there's an awful lot going on with Famista '89. Right at the top, there's the title. Just like how people abbreviated Family Computer to Famicom, and then Nintendo eventually adopted that shortening, Namco has taken on the abbreviation for Family Stadium. So from this point on, the series will always be known as Famista and a Year. It's not like they can release 2 Famistas in a single year, after all. They released 2 Famistas in 1989. Famista '89 also has a subtitle, the only one of these games that does, and it's Kaimakuban, or Opening Edition. It's a Japanese pun on opening day. The next big thing is that this is the debut of Namco's oversized cartridges. All Namco releases going forward will be in this style of shell. So no more choice of labels to put on top of the cartridge. I don't care for this design very much. The embossing on the front makes them impossible to stack, and I found that labels don't stick to the shell very well. I've seen a lot of late-era Namco games with damaged labels. So with all those dramatic changes in the packaging, Namco must have come up with something really special for this edition of Famista. It's a stat update to Family Stadium '88. And you might recall that Family Stadium '88 was only a slight modification of Family Stadium '87, which was just a stat update to the original Family Stadium. So Famista '89 is looking really long in the tooth here. Almost every other active publisher on the Famicom has put out their own baseball game at this point, and there's a few more coming, and a lot of them attempt to refine the formula a bit. They haven't always been successful in those attempts, but at least they're trying to refine things. And here's Famista '89 looking and playing exactly like something from 1986. There are 2 new features in the game, though neither of them are what I would call well implemented. The obvious one is that you can edit some players. It's only a handful of them, but you can input enough players to make up a team. You have to assign them to a team, and then when you play with that team, you have to assign them to a position. So this is a really half-assed implementation of the concept. The other feature is that there's now bosses. And by that I mean, in previous versions of Family Stadium, your goal was to just beat every other team in the league. But in Famista '89, after you beat every other team in the league, 2 new teams appear. They're basically teams of all-stars that were taken from the World Stadium series over on the PC Engine. Beyond that, I feel like the AI has been cranked up another notch. They're always hitting things exactly into the pocket, and meanwhile the pitching is so fast that you really don't have time to judge whether or not they're throwing a strike or ball. Also, pitchers get exhausted fast in Famista '89. I had some showing signs of distress before even pitching to 3 batters, and only throwing curveballs rather than fastballs. And then there's the fielding. Your fielders run extremely slowly, a problem that's existed since the original Family Stadium. The stadiums are huge, and there's no attempt to guide your players towards getting a ball. If even the slowest pop fly gets past you, then you won't be able to catch up to it. July 1989 had all 3 of the biggest baseball franchises on the Famicom Showdown, and what I didn't know when I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago is that all 3 of these games are not well liked. They're all singled out as low points in their series. Even Shin Moero Pro Yakyu. So between the 3, I guess Kyukyoku Harikiri Stadium is the most playable of them. But even if you like playing 8-bit baseball games, none of these are enjoyable. I actually think Famista '89 is a bit of a step backward for the series. There is a reason that Famista '89 turned out so poorly, but I have to save that for tomorrow's episode.